Hey there, and a happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Weather Out West is an hour-long show where we walk you through what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. We're going to have the latest forecast from the PNW to the Mountain West and to California and Arizona and the Southwest. But first, we start today with the tsunami advisory that is still in effect for much of the West Coast, at least as of 10 a.m. Pacific time. We are going to walk you through a bunch of things such as the maximum wave heights that we've seen and so on and so forth. The advisory was actually triggered after a powerful 8.8 earthquake yesterday off the coast of Russia. Officials say it was the sixth largest earthquake ever on record and the strongest since 2011, where it was a magnitude 9.1 earthquake, if you recall, near Japan. The tsunami advisory along West Coast is not a call to evacuate, but people in those areas should still be on alert. Those tsunami waves have reached Hawaii, in California, and just hours ago in Washington just this morning. This is still being closely watched around the world, with a large stretch of coastline on both sides of the Pacific being impacted. And you see that map there where Russia is, where the epicenter occurred. Alaska was impacted all the way to the United States, including the Hawaiian Islands. And we still have a lot of advisories still in place for much of the West Coast. It doesn't go all the way to the Mexican and California border, however, but it still stretches all the way to Southern California, and that is in effect until further notice. We want you to take a look at this new video where you can see emergency workers in Russia responding to a damaged building used for a kindergarten. You see that their first responders are on scene, and you see all of the damage just from that building from that earthquake. And this is the Kuril Islands off the coast of Russia, and north of Japan you can see the significant amount of water that rushed in from a tsunami wave. Hours later, the tsunami approached Hawaii. New video overnight shows rising water spilling into a parking lot at the Haleiwa, if I mispronounced that, I apologize, boat harbor on Oahu's north side. Now, here's a look at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, of a view around 10 a.m. Pacific time. And due to the tsunami danger, Alaska Airlines paused Hawaiian air departures to the islands for several hours and diverted inbound flights to Hawaii as well. But those flights are again moving this morning. However, there were some cancellations, so it could affect your travel plans if you're headed to the islands. And make sure you check the status of your flights before heading to the airport. I did want to show you some of those tsunami alerts still in place on the weather system, just to give you an idea of where it's in place versus where it has been canceled. It extends all the way up to Washington coast and then to Southern California. You see it includes portions of the Strait of Juan de Fuca in between Vancouver Island and the Olympic Peninsula, all the way down to the Oregon coast, all the way down to San Francisco, and then down to portions of Southern California. That's that orange line there. Meanwhile, in Hawaii, it is a tsunami advisory. These are all in place until further notice. And then the Aleutians, you see that there, that tsunami advisory is still in place. Here are some of the observed max tsunami heights. These are just some that I picked from California all the way up to Washington. And these are as of 10 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. These are some of the numbers from the National Weather Service. Crescent City, California, about 4 feet, that's above normal tide. Arena Cove, California, 3 feet above. And then Port Orford in Oregon, 1.4 feet. In La Push, Washington, 1.3 feet. And for those who are familiar with Twilight, yes, La Push, Washington, 1.3 feet. It's always important to know the alerts when they are in place. Sometimes you may think a advisory is less severe than a watch, but a watch means that a distant earthquake has occurred and a tsunami is possible. That means you need to watch and pay attention, know that evacuation route, and be ready to act if a warning or even an advisory is issued. Now, the advisory, where most of us are still or under this, it means strong currents and waves could still be dangerous to those in or very near the water, and you're supposed to stay out of the water, know if the beaches are closed in different waterways. Now, that warning is that tsunami is happening or about to happen. That this is when you really need to take action, move to high ground or inland immediately. So it's important to know the difference, whether you're vacationing or you live here or you're new to the West Coast. Unfortunately, even though we love the West Coast, that is going to be something you have to know living out here. Now, coming up after the break, we're still talking about weather. We're going to stay in the Pacific Northwest to give you the latest forecast from meteorologists Rich Marriott and Rod Hill. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and we talked all about the earthquake and the tsunami. And while the tsunami advisory remains in place for much of the West Coast, the Washington coast is included in that. The chance for thunderstorms actually returns to the Northwest. Here's Rich Marriott with the details from Seattle.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott here in Seattle, where we've been following a tsunami advisory out for a portion of the area for the coast and through parts of the northwest interior and through the Strait of Juan de Fuca. That's in effect until further notice from the National Weather Service. It could expire at any point, so if you're headed towards the beaches, definitely want to check before you head that way. They're asking people to stay away from the beaches, marinas, and harbors, not because of big waves coming in, but they're worried about very complex and strong currents that are within the water itself, and just want to keep people away from the water until the wave train from the tsunami pretty much wraps up, and that could happen at any time. So be sure and update before you head on towards any of those beaches today. Take a look outside this morning. It's been a pretty nice morning in terms of sunshine. Lots of sunshine out there. In fact, you can see Bellingham Tower Cam looking good. A little bit of fog out there in the distance, but that'll burn off as we get that sun a little bit higher in the sky. You can see there in Everett, we've got just a few clouds kind of drifting through. A little hazy out there, and it may be a little bit of haze from those Mason County fires that continue to burn this morning. Checking out there in Tacoma, you can see that haze out there as well, but still plenty of sunshine going on. And out along the coast, they've had some fog and low clouds, but they should break out to at least partly sunny as we head towards this afternoon and be in pretty good shape. Checking our first alert 7-day forecast, you can see pretty much a repeat in terms of temperatures today from yesterday. We'll be in the upper 70s, low to mid 80s. Today, though, we will see a few afternoon showers or thunderstorms developing in the Cascades. Then tomorrow, we'll follow that same pattern. We're going to cool a little bit, and we're going to see some moisture move up from the south. It's going to give us probably more showers in the mountains, which could drift towards the Cascade foothills later Thursday into Friday, but not looking for too much of a threat out of that. And then as we head towards Seafair weekend, things start to look pretty nice with sunshine and temperatures mostly in the 70s. Checking our dry streak here, the driest part of the year. Well, we now have 80 years of record for the 28th and the 29th, and the 29th continues to be one of the two driest days with only 5 days of measurable rain in the last 80 years out at SEA Airport. Today looks like it's going to be a pretty dry day as well. The 31st of July, there might be a couple showers around, but whether or not we're going to get any drops into the bucket there at the airport, pretty questionable, so it may survive as well as we continue to rack up the number of years we have very little rain on those dates. And as I keep pointing out, not even an inch of rain total from any of those days that we have seen rain at the airport. Checking there in the satellite image, a lot of low clouds off the coast, that marine deck pushing in through the strait and into southwestern Washington. And we're going to see that increase as we head towards the weekend, and that is going to put us in a pattern of morning clouds and afternoon sun. But tomorrow afternoon, we'll see a little bit more active afternoon up in the Cascades as we get more moisture moving up from the south. There'll be showers and some thunderstorms and just enough drift that we might see some of those come out towards the Cascade foothills late Thursday into early Friday, and maybe give us a couple of showers there. And we might see one or two maybe go a little bit farther out into Puget Sound, but shouldn't affect most people. Those are going to go away, and we should be in great shape as we head into that Seafair weekend. Checking the smoke models, you can see a lot of smoke coming out of those fires there in Mason County and kind of just being circulated around. However, the good news is not really affecting keeping the air quality significant. A couple stations edge into the moderate range, but overall still have good air quality, but still you see a lot of haze in the air, which is not that enjoyable. And as we head towards tomorrow, we're going to continue to see generally good air quality everywhere. So forecast for today, looking pretty good. Mostly sunny. We'll see that slight chance of some showers or thunderstorms up in the Cascades this afternoon. And temperatures upper 70s and low to mid 80s. Same pattern tomorrow, a little bit cooler, but then we'll see the chance of those thunderstorms and showers drifting a little bit out into Puget Sound later in the day. Thursday into early on Friday, and then we'll clear out on Friday afternoon. And then for Seafair weekend itself, morning clouds, afternoon sun, high temperatures getting into the mid to upper 70s. Pretty nice for sitting out in the sun all day. And then as we head into next week, we'll be looking for the low clouds to last a little bit longer, but still partly sunny afternoons and high temperatures mostly in the mid 70s.
Next, let's go to Rod Hill in Portland. He has a closer look at the tsunami advisory in place there, and he's also talking about the risk for thunderstorms.
From Portland on a Wednesday, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill with this update, and some bits of weather information just have to be time stamped. So at 9 o'clock this morning, our coast, Oregon, all of it, and up into Washington, still under a tsunami advisory. We have no idea, literally, when this advisory will be lifted. So please verify that the advisory has been canceled before you make the decision to go to the coast or get into the water. There's the ongoing concern that even if the waters never really come up, here in Oregon, we've only had water rises through mid-morning recorded at anything from nothing to 1 to 2 to 3 inches, and we have low tide, so really nothing of consequence whatsoever. But there's still fear that this tsunami setting could be triggering unpredictable and stronger than normal currents. So it's possible some sort of advisory will continue today just to keep people out of the water, which could be very dangerous even if the water levels never really increase. So we're following that story here in Oregon. The other story is more scattered storm activity firing later today. This is our Futurecast models at 3 o'clock this afternoon. There's our beautiful central Oregon area of Bend. You can see the showers and thunderstorms again moving south to north, and some activity out farther to the east as well. All dry for another warm to hot day here in Portland. We could get up to 90. It was 91 yesterday. So the latest model updates, here we are at 10 o'clock Thursday morning, show that we basically stay dry in the valley. But even though this doesn't show it, if you're going to be down in these parts, there's at least a chance of a spotty storm overnight tonight or sometime tomorrow morning in the Willamette Valley, which is Salem and Portland, maybe up in the southwest Washington, Vancouver. At least a chance of a scattered rain shower from remnant clouds from these storms kind of blowing into our area during the day on Thursday. That model, if you look carefully, showed some heavier rain showers and maybe a crack of thunder tomorrow afternoon moving near the Columbia River Gorge on the east side of our Portland metro area. So we're still watching that. Clearly, nearly all of the activity, though, stays out in central and eastern Oregon, which is what Futurecast shows tomorrow evening at 8:06. I want to show you a closer look. This is 6 o'clock this evening. Not much going on. Here's 11 o'clock Thursday morning. And then, yeah, you saw a little bit of rain just move up toward the west part of the gorge. All right, this is interesting. This is our Schnuckwins Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. We have noticed people walking on the beaches. And again, the advisory is calling for people to stay away from the beaches and stay out of the water. Again, the biggest threat may end up being those unpredictable and stronger than normal ocean currents that I mentioned a moment ago. Our cameras are beautiful as always. There's our Mount Hood Timberline Lodge camera. Some cloudiness over the mountain this morning. It's been in the 60s up there, so signs of a very warm air mass overall. Downtown Portland enjoying a sunny start. There's our capital city, mostly sunny skies. And here is the forecast numbers, forecast-wise for the Columbia River Gorge. There is a heat advisory for white salmon, the Dalles, and out into the Columbia Basin for temperatures nearing 100. This shows the Dalles at 98. Not extreme heat, but certainly hot. Valley forecast numbers, again, either just getting to 90 or falling short. Pretty much everybody between Salem and Portland on Tuesday made it into the low 90s. This shows southwest Washington, Longview only 84. That'd be nice, but Clark County, Vancouver could get up to 90. Other forecast numbers, the thunderstorm threat in central and eastern areas today. The coast expected to see partly sunny skies develop this afternoon. Portland near 90, only 80 tomorrow with a mix of clouds and maybe a shower. And then staying comfortable on Friday, 79, 80 on Saturday, and 77 degrees on Sunday should make for a very nice weekend here in the Rose City.
We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back to Weather Out West. On this Wednesday, we're taking you to California, but first, Southern California, where Vanessa Paz talks about the lingering high rip current risk from that tsunami threat. Otherwise, really pleasant conditions are expected.
Well, happy Wednesday. We have made it halfway through the work week. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Here's what it looked like earlier along our coastline. We were socked in clouds. The majority of the inland valleys, though, saw sunshine from the start of the day and warmed up very nice when it came to those mid-morning hours. Again, the talk of the town, especially here in San Diego County, I'm sure for much of the West Coast, has really been that tsunami advisory that was impacting pretty much all of California over the past several hours. It ended at 5 a.m. this morning, but we are still to remain cautious hanging out along those coastal and beach neighborhoods with the threat of strong currents, especially rip currents, and areas could continue to see small sea level changes. But as of last check, the tsunami advisory has been canceled for both Orange and San Diego counties. Waves are pretty flat, anywhere between 1 to 3 feet, and that certainly gave an assistance in what could have been a larger threat, especially if we were in king tides or we had much higher surf. It looks like it was fairly minimal when it came to a threat for us here locally. All right, taking a look at San Diego, California over the past 14 days, we have been spoiled with very nice conditions. I mean, these are pretty average for the coastal areas, but we are in July in the thick of summer, and we have yet to see that extreme heat blanket our most populated neighborhoods. All right, taking a look at weather headlines as we kick off the second half of the week, we are still going to expect those pleasant and seasonal conditions as we finish off the second half heading into the weekend. Those marine layer clouds will continue to spill well into the valley areas, and the overall trend for the coastal spots will be in the 80s, and we are expecting those highs to soar near 90 for the next several days when it comes to interior parts of the county. Taking a look at what's happening aloft, this is at 500 millibars aloft. We have this ridge of high pressure, also known as a dome of warm air. It's going to move a little more westward in the next day or so, and that's the reason why things are going to warm up, especially when we talk about today and tomorrow. Then it's going to push off a little farther east, and that's going to allow for troughing to kind of dig in and allow for some subtle cooling. So we're in two pretty big systems, and that's assisting in keeping things fairly mild for us here in Southern California, in particular in San Diego County. It was cloudy, as I mentioned, across the coastal areas this morning, but those clouds broke apart pretty quick for those areas that hug the 15 corridor, also known as the inland valleys. Taking a look, that's what it looked like earlier this morning from our UCSD Skycam in comparison to where we should be for this time of the year. Daytime highs this afternoon will be just a couple of degrees above our 30-year normal. I'm forecasting high later on this afternoon for areas like downtown San Diego, low 90s in Ramona, and we'll be near 110 in Borrego Springs. Elsewhere, you can expect daytime highs to be pretty similar, rinse and repeat pretty much each day all the way through the weekend. Minimal daily changes are expected. We'll reach highs in the mid to low 70s from Carlsbad all the way to Del Mar, about 10 degrees warmer for the inland valleys. So the inland valleys are still going to remain quite warm, but again, nothing unusually warm when it comes to this time of the year. In the mountains, the higher in elevation you are, the warmer it will be. Close to 90 degrees for Julian and Mount Laguna. Closer to the desert spots, we'll see highs ranging anywhere between 105 and 110. The coastal areas will see daytime highs in the high 70s all the way through next week. Next Tuesday, temperatures take a slight dip, and the reason being that trough of low pressure, it's going to dive a little more south. That ridge is going to weaken a bit, and that's going to allow for onshore flow to enhance, ushering in slightly cooler temperatures. So minimal daily changes all the way through about Monday, and then Tuesday's looking like one of the coolest days of our 7-day outlook. Here's what it looks like for the mountains and deserts over the next 7 days, close to 90 degrees all the way through Friday, and then we're in the 90s by the weekend.
Thanks, Vanessa. Now we're going to take you up to Northern California. Monica Woods has the forecast.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods looking at our forecast for Northern and Central California with our regional headlines. For the coast, morning fog, even some drizzle, but afternoon sunshine. For the valley, we're going to start to see a cooler weather pattern. In the foothills, some afternoon cloud cover, but that's largely due to this thunderstorms popping up in the Sierra, which will also be elevating our fire risk. So let's start there. For the Sierra, mainly through about the central Sierra into Yosemite and points northward, we're going to see that risk of thunderstorms for our Wednesday. It's also going to elevate the fire risk, and partially because of isolated dry lightning coming into the forecast. Mostly for the extreme northern part of the Sierra, parts of the Shasta, right around the California-Oregon border. We should see some wetting rain for the Tahoe Basin, but our significant fire potential does go in the high category for lightning potential for the Tahoe Basin all the way through the northern Sierra and then again around Shasta. This is going to be into our Wednesday. It's going to come down slightly into our Thursday. Nonetheless, this time of year, camping, hiking, safety, always got to prepare for those developing weather changes, especially very quick weather changes. Knowing the forecast can keep you ahead of all of the dangerous weather. Notify family and friends of your plans just in case they need to get in touch with you. Also plan that evacuation route, know it, and then also where the nearest shelter is. Pack that charged phone and safety kit. Make sure everything is ready to go should you need it. Heading up to the foothills and the higher elevations. Forecast highs for our Wednesday, a little bit cooler than where we were to start off the work week here. Highs will be in the upper 80s to right around the low 90s for the valley and the foothills, and rain-cooled lower 70s for parts of the Sierra, 60s along the coast, and that's not bad considering how much fog we're starting off with. For our July forecast, you can see just a tremendous amount of below average temperatures, putting our average for the beginning of the week at 89.1 degrees, and we're going to continue to see unseasonably cool weather come in. So even though our temperatures have been slightly warmer than where we were last week, we're still relatively cool. In fact, we're in the top 5 coolest Julys so far. It looks likely we're gonna land in that spot for the end of the month, but we still have a couple days to go here, so could pop into the top 3, but right now we're number 4. Last year was the hottest since 1990 and the 3rd hottest of all time, so quite a contrast from last year. Looking at that high-resolution futurecast, thunderstorms popping up for the afternoon. Here we go, right through the Sierra Spine. Parts of northern California along the California-Oregon border will be tracking the potential for lightning-sparked fires. Onshore flow continues into our Thursday. We've got a low-pressure system that's really adding to the instability that's going to start to shift its way off to the northeast corner of California, starting to suppress some of the thunderstorm activity into our Thursday. Still a slight chance, but that beautiful onshore flow continues. Some morning low clouds for the Bay Area as well as pushing inland for the valley. So some stratus starting us off on our Thursday, clearing though for the afternoon. Highs will be in the 70s for the Tahoe Basin with a chance of thunderstorms for our Wednesday. Dry as we head down the hill, just a little buildup of afternoon cloud cover, but thunderstorm chances continue as we move our way southward here. Yosemite still that chance of thunderstorms, highs in the low 80s. We're in the 90s as we start to head towards the valley. So feeling a little bit more summer-like than certainly where we were last week. Monterey Bay Peninsula, lots of low clouds and fog. Carmel, only 61. Big Sur, up to 76 for the afternoon. Soledad up to 83 as we head inland. Coalinga at 99, so awfully close to 100. Again, a taste of true summer July weather for much of northern and central California. Bay Area, we are socked in with the fog for the morning. Afternoon clearing as we head inland. We're looking at peaks of sunshine there and highs in the 80s. Northwest coast, it's going to be foggy, high at 67 for Redwood National Park, and then 90s as we start to head inland.
Coming up after the break, we're headed to Colorado and Arizona. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Ruiz. It's time to head to Colorado. Here is Kathy Sabin with your Denver forecast.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we've issued a weather impact alert for today. After multiple days with temperatures in the triple digits, upper 90s, we now had a series of cool fronts come in. It's brought temperatures down, but it's also brought a lot of moisture to the state, and light searing winds aloft mean the flood threat is very real for us again this afternoon. So we've issued a weather impact alert for slow-moving storms with heavy rainfall and a flash flood threat that includes includes the Denver metro area. The timing from 1 o'clock today to 11 o'clock tonight. And again, heavy rain's really the biggest impact. But much like yesterday, hail and damaging wind gusts from thunderstorms are a potential as well. We're kind of in that level 1 of 5 for severe weather threat. It's been warm. We have 31 days of 90 or better. The average for the season is 46, so kind of closing in on what could be a heat record for us for the summer. But today it's all about the moisture coming into Colorado. A plume of moisture coming in from the southwest interacting with a second front, and that means the chance for storms, slow-moving storms that could pose a flash flooding threat right here in the metro area. Storms build west of town today by about 2:30, crossing the I-25 corridor between about 3 and 6, moving very slowly out east into the wee hours of the night. And some of those rural areas have seen heavy rainfall already, and so saturated soils are going to mean some county road washouts and some other issues. So we'll start in the 60s today and warm to the upper 70s. The average high is about 90, so that's the good news. But the flood threat is real, so weather impact alert has been issued. Temperatures below average today, slowly warming tomorrow with a late day storm. Drier Friday, back to the 90s, heading into the weekend and first part of next week with what looks like a drying trend that could last for several days heading into the first full week of August.
One of the largest earthquakes on record taking place last night, at least last night, our time here in Colorado, 5:24 p.m. our time off the Kamchatka Peninsula of the southeast coast of Russia. Magnitude 8.8 magnitude earthquake took place, and nearly 6,000 miles away, right here in Colorado, you could see the waves from that. Now, this is a seismograph, a way of detecting, measuring earthquakes, and this was taken from Colorado State University. And this is a vertical seismograph, so time goes, this is earlier up here, later down here, and this is from yesterday. And notice these waves kind of increasing down towards the bottom. That is a seismograph at Colorado State picking up on that earthquake. Now, of course, here, 6,000 miles away, it was way too far away for us to feel anything as human beings or anything really other than a seismograph. And again, itty-bitty waves, but that, indeed, there is the seismograph also in Divide, Colorado, picking up on that earthquake. And most of the seismographs I was looking at from the state of Colorado able to detect that earthquake. And in fact, it was just such a major earthquake off the coast of Russia that it was the largest globally since March of 2011. That was the Japanese earthquake that prompted the big tsunami out there. And it was tied for the 6th largest earthquake on record as long as it's not revised. And this is the kind of earthquake, a mega thrust. Now, not all earthquakes are created equal, but the reason there was such a high tsunami concern with this particular earthquake is this is a mega thrust, which means you have one tectonic plate going underneath another that forces a displacement of water, forces the water to kind of get a little bit upended, and it creates a big wave. So this kind of earthquake taking place off the coast and as a mega thrust is what prompted those tsunami alerts. And again, it was big enough that right here in Colorado, we were able to detect it on our seismographs.
Thanks so much, Chris. Next, we're headed to the desert Southwest, and unfortunately for them, the 110s have returned to Phoenix. Check it out.
Hey there, I'm meteorologist Crystal Long in Phoenix, where dry air is really crushing our monsoon party. You could see all of that monsoon moisture pent up over New Mexico while we're left high and dry. You can see all that brown there on the water vapor imagery. Our setup is all wrong. Our high pressure that we count on to set up over the Four Corners is too far to the east and south. Meantime, we've got a kink in the jet stream here, this low pressure digging down. We're just hot and dry. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We really need that high to slide over into its sweet spot in the Four Corners to yank up that monsoon moisture into our state. But we're only going to find the storms confined to that eastern edge of our state again today, where we have a 3 on the monsoon meter, really for the White Mountains exclusively, and a 4 in southeastern Arizona. And again, it's the farther east you go, that's when you'll find that higher number on the monsoon meter. And it's not that high, it's just kind of mid-range. Still, the storms that spark in those zones capable of a lot of hazards, from the lightning to the gusty winds, which could launch dust into the air and some brief rainfall. Let me show you this on your future radar. You're going to see this flare up of showers and storms, and again, just hanging out in that far eastern zone. Most of that action in southeastern Arizona today. We'll see a repeat performance basically tomorrow. We could see a little bit more slip further west in the south, and that could also send some dust our direction here in the valley. And it's really going to be the same story on Friday before we kind of pull the plug on any monsoon storm action for the weekend. Dry air will definitely be on deck. So when you add up all the showers and storms through the end of our work week, you're going to see a rainfall footprint that looks like this. So those lucky enough to actually see that liquid gold aren't going to get a whole heck of a lot, unfortunately. So really, we're all just eyes on the thermometer again as we aim above average. We'll get an extra 5 degrees above seasonal standards in Phoenix and Flagstaff, but double that, an extra 10 in Payson this afternoon. So your thermometers are going to look like this in the afternoon hours, tripling up on the ones in Phoenix, but make that 112 in Gila Bend. 101 in Globe and Safford. We're also cracking the century mark in Kingman, on the verge of the century mark in Page. We're back up into the upper 80s there in Flagstaff. Yes, even above average in the Pines. You got a lot of sunshine. And the Grand Canyon at the higher elevations may seem like a cooler escape, but at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, below 4,000 feet, we've got temperatures that rival what we're expecting on the thermometer in Phoenix. So we still have this ongoing extreme heat warning. Also keep in mind that our fire danger is extreme here close to the valley. Mesa Cave Creek, we're very high in Tonto, Payson, Pleasant Valley. Monsoon hasn't helped us out enough, so we're dealing with really dry conditions for Rim Country as well as Flagstaff. And you can see it's even slim pickings for showers and storms in Flagstaff, which is usually our hot spot for that monsoon activity, but instead it's just going to be probably a couple of clouds that tack onto your sunshine. Just a 20% chance Thursday and Friday. Temperatures ranging in the mid to upper 80s for you. For the valley, watch out. We're cranking up the heat even more as we head into your weekend. So you've got a straight shot of 110 plus temperatures with more sunshine than anything. We do have to keep our eye to the sky on Thursday for some blowing dust from those storms that erupt to our south. But other than that, it's really just a dry, hot forecast with that sun shining. We'll see some of the clouds blot out the sun early next week. And look at those wake-up calls. They're extra warm. A rude awakening on Friday and Saturday in the 90s.
Stick with us because coming up after the break, we're headed to the interior Northwest where the summer sizzle is in full swing. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz. Heat and scattered thunderstorms are expected for portions of Idaho. Tyson White from Boise has all the details.
Hi there, I'm Tyson White from KTVB out here in Boise, and we are looking at this very beautiful video and kind of just awe-inspiring video here. Some lightning from the Marsing area. This was yesterday afternoon after thunderstorms rolled through the area here. Thanks to Lynette for posting this to the Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page. Just a lot of colors in there, and of course that spectacular lightning strike again. We could see another chance of that today as we push through and look at around the region so far. Today we're seeing temperatures right about warm, I guess you could call it, for the day. Temperatures in the 70s so far throughout the morning hours. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for mountain locations out there. Just beautiful skies. We have some filtered sunlight so far here in the Boise area today. We're also seeing a little bit of that out in the Twin Falls. Sun Valley, McCall, though, looking just as beautiful as ever out there. Let's take a look at some of our other sky cams from around the area. Redfish Lake Visitor Center out there looking beautiful as ever. Some of the trees moving around out there throughout the morning too. Crystal clear water though. Great day to go out and water ski and maybe catch a fish or two out there. Taking a look at the time lapse from Tamarack. This is in Donley area in Valley County. Really nice conditions shaping up so far this morning. Great day to to get out and explore the backwoods of Idaho as well. And then my favorite camera, again, a little bit darker, gloomier here at Highway 55 at Smiths Ferry near the Cougar Mountain Lodge. We've got some light clouds moving through the area, maybe a slight chance of a shower throughout the day here too. That persists throughout the afternoon. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Temperatures yesterday got up in the triple digits for Ontario as well as Mountain Home. We could see that again for the western portions of the Treasure Valley. Boise and Caldwell got near that with 98 degrees. Magic Valley stayed well below that, right around the high 80s for most of those locations. We'll be about 3 to 6 degrees warmer than that for Magic Valley and Treasure Valley locations. Mountains were the pleasant spot, 81 degrees up there for Stanley. Your daily almanac here in the Boise area averages about 95, will be about 97 degrees for today, and then nowhere near that record of 106 back in 2003. However, triple digits are expected for the western end of the Treasure Valley. Day planner for the Treasure Valley by the noon hour about 84 degrees, and then we start cranking that heat up 97 for the 6 o'clock hour, and this is when we need to start watching the southern skies for those scattered showers and thunderstorms as we see pushing through the area. A little less activity for the Magic Valley in terms of that. Temperatures by the noon hour about 80 degrees, warming up in the mid 90s that is for daytime highs. Maybe a scattered cloud or two in the western portion of the Treasure Valley, but not seeing that activity as prominent here in the Magic Valley. Northwest Satellite Radar showing some of those conditions out there for that moisture that's pushing up from Southern California out there as well. A little closer look, not showing a whole lot right now. We did see some showers earlier this morning in the Central Mountain locations, but that'll kind of persist as Futurecast shows timing of that. As we look into this afternoon, about 5:30, you start seeing some of those storms popping up along the southern border with Nevada and into Oregon. That's going to push in overnight. We see a greater chance right about midnight for Boise to see a scattered shower. Some of those storms will push into the valleys as we push through tomorrow. That chance grows again. Central Mountain locations seeing a better chance of measurable precipitation like McCall, Sun Valley, and Stanley out there as well. And then again, overnight into the later evening hours Thursday night, we see that chance pushing into the valley locations, stronger chance of thunderstorms and showers for Thursday evening. Magic Valley looking decent here too, 95 degrees for Shoshone, partly cloudy skies for many locations out here. Then pushing ahead, taking a look at our 7-day forecast here for the Boise area. Temperatures today warm. It's going to be a hot day today. Then we start cooling things off. We do see that chance of showers still lingering into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but temperatures going into this weekend looking really decent. 90 degrees out there for the Boise area by Saturday. Then Sunday and Monday, things start cooling off again. Things start drying out a little bit too as we see below average temperatures for Monday out there. Taking a look at your 7-day forecast for the Twin Falls area, much the same here. However, about 6 to 8 degrees cooler in many locations here for the most part. Into the weekend, things look pretty decent here as well. Mountain locations also looking really nice going into this weekend. Temperatures in the mid 70s by Saturday and Sunday, and then 71, a cool day for Monday out there.
Thanks so much, Tyson. Today and Thursday are going to be the hottest days, but cooler temperatures are on the horizon. Thomas Patrick has more from Spokane, Washington.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, and today is going to be one of our hottest days of the entire summer season. High temperatures climbing well into the 90s and could push 100 degrees around eastern and central Washington today. So it'll be hot, especially over Riverfront Park downtown, where a handful of people have been taking advantage of the slightly cooler conditions in the morning hours, knowing that it's going to get a lot hotter by this afternoon, and we'll want to seek the AC whenever we can get it today. And these will be some of our hottest summer days, at least so far of the season, with just a chance for an isolated stray or rogue shower and thunderstorm during the next couple afternoons. We're going to start to put a little bit more focus into that part of the forecast as we turn the corner away from the hottest days and then back into some more normal August weather by this weekend. But in the meantime, hot is the name of the game. The forecast in Spokane, 97 degrees, which is 10 degrees above average. 97 is still very, very hot, but for it to just only be 10 degrees above average really signifies that this is typical. We expect to get this hot this time of year, as the last week of July is on average the hottest week of the season. And it just so happens that the weather pattern is following suit with that in a big way. So there you go, 97 in Spokane, 96 in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and also 100-degree temperature readings for central Washington. Those will be the normal hot spots, as hot as about 104 or 105 in the Tri-Cities and 102 in Lewiston. So plenty of areas hitting that triple-digit mark. I would say it's unlikely for Spokane. The hottest computer model went 100 degrees, but we have not quite been to those maximum thresholds so far this summer season. Still, you'll want to drink plenty of water, seek shade, seek air conditioning, and make sure that you're just staying cool however you can on this date in Spokane. The hottest so far this season was back on July 13th. That was a Sunday, also 97 degrees. So we're just forecasting to match it so far this season. Really, the only thing unusual about this summer is that we haven't gotten to 100 degrees yet. Usually that happens about every other year, and it's been a lot more common recently, as you can imagine. But so far, so good. Nothing too extreme in our area. With that being said, there are no heat advisories for Spokane or Eastern Washington. Again, because this is expected. This is typical, and this deep into the summer season, it's just our bodies are a lot more acclimated to the heat. Where those temperatures are above 100 degrees, like in southern Washington, that's where the heat advisories are today. Meanwhile, the focus on any thunderstorms will be over the mountains for the next 2 days. The Cascades under a red flag warning for this afternoon, and northern Washington gets that fire weather watch to be a red flag warning for tomorrow afternoon, because of the thunderstorm chances and the lightning risk. That elevates the fire danger, thus the red flag warnings. Today's rain chances are actually really small at 10%, but it's not 0%. In fact, we've already seen a couple spotty showers around eastern Washington and northeastern Washington already this morning, but it's pretty few and far between. There's just a little bit of moisture and a lot of energy, but no forcing mechanism, i.e. no storm systems, no cold fronts, not really anything to actually realize the potential energy that's in the atmosphere. So the mountains probably have the best chance to see an isolated shower for today, and we'll notice that the chances are a lot higher for tomorrow, with about a 20 to 40% chance of rain, especially around Okanogan County. When the heat breaks on Friday, that's when we're going to get our best chance for rain. So temperatures will fall back into the 80s starting on August 1st, and we'll be in for a pretty nice weekend ahead. But today and tomorrow will be two of our hottest days so far this summer.
Coming up after the break, we're taking you out east because our friends out there are also dealing with the heat. We'll have those details coming up. Now that we got a tour around the western region, we want to talk about the national forecast because much of the south and central United States are under heat alerts. Here's Julie Martin with a look at the national forecast.
Still dealing with that extreme heat and humidity, about 100 million of us sweating it out in the east under that heat dome. Also, a massive earthquake off the coast of Russia creating some tsunami concerns along the west coast and Hawaii. So taking a look here at your forecast for today. Again, once again, really hot, dangerous temperatures east of the Mississippi. We've got those high 90s all over the map. Triple digits in Dallas. We've got 97 in Huntsville, 98 in Memphis, and 93 in Atlanta. Very different story here along the west coast, 85 in Seattle, and then the low 90s from Portland down to Sacramento. So looking at the feels like forecast, this is what really matters. It's going to be that humidity getting factored into these temperatures. And look at this. By the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, 109 in Little Rock, 110 in Memphis, 109 in Jacksonville, Florida, and 101 in Charlotte. So a prolonged dangerous heat. You want to take it easy out there, stay very hydrated, try to get as much air conditioning as possible. Here are those watches and warnings in orange. Those are the excessive heat advisories stretching really across a good section still of the eastern half of the U.S. Interestingly enough, we also have tsunami advisories here along portions of the west coast from places like Washington down to Oregon. That's where we're going to have to be very careful and stay out of the water, although no major impacts have been reported as of now as in terms of the tsunami that was traveling across the Pacific. The 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, things will get better. We're going to have a pretty strong cold front come through the east as we wrap up the week. So temperatures are still going to be on the warm side heading into August. However, not as warm until about the mid of August. That is when we're going to see temperatures once again return to some hotter levels, which is pretty typical for August. Here's that severe weather threat then. Could see some storms firing from Chicago down to St. Louis, also New York City down to DC, that I-95 corridor. And back here in the plains, Denver, you could get a few strong storms today. Flooding kind of in those same general areas. We've got the flood risk there in Denver and then in and around the Great Lakes region. Not a real high risk, but still something to be aware of. All right, let's take you out west then for those temperatures. We will be looking at temperatures settling down to around 77 for you in Seattle on Friday. We've got the 80s in Spokane by the end of the week. So in general, a little bit cooler heading into the weekend. Sacramento, you'll stay right around 90 degrees. Beautiful weather there in San Diego. The triple digits still in the desert southwest, and Denver, yeah, you're going to be back in the 80s by Friday. Still hot here all across the Lone Star State and in the deep south as well. We're really not going to get much of a break until the weekend. Still staying very much on the hot and dangerous side. Louisville, though, by Friday, things really start to ease back off. Back into the 80s we go. Great Lakes looks great. In fact, temperatures aren't going to be a problem there. And in New England, looking pretty good as well. Even in the mid-Atlantic, our temperatures really settle down by the end of the week.
Before we let you go on Wednesday's edition of Weather Out West, I wanted to show you the update on the tsunami alerts. And as of 10:30 a.m. Pacific time on this Wednesday, most of the West Coast dropped from the tsunami alert, so no longer in place for Washington, Oregon. However, there's one small sliver of Northern California under that tsunami advisory until further notice, as well as portions of Southern California, South Central California, including Santa Barbara County. Now let's take you to Hawaii, still under that tsunami advisory until further notice, and then portions of the Aleutians were also dropped from that tsunami advisory except for that one sliver. You see that there. And this isn't going to be the first one, as we well know. We've had a couple of tsunami watches and warnings over the last couple of weeks for portions of the Pacific, and so it's always important to know the difference between a warning, advisory, and a watch. At first, you know, portions of the West Coast, they were issued or placed under that watch, which means an earthquake occurred, a tsunami is possible at a later time, but then that was upgraded to an advisory, meaning that strong currents, waves may be headed that way, and so you want to stay out of the water, away from beaches and waterways, even though the tsunami waves were not expected to be all too high. They ran all the way from half of a foot to about 4 feet for portions of California, and then that warning no longer in place, but that means a tsunami is happening or about to happen, and so no longer under any warnings. Again, that advisory has been canceled for much of the West Coast, except for that one sliver of Northern California and then Southern California. Here's a look at Sacramento, Northern California's forecast going forward over the next couple of days. You see 80s followed by 90s heating up over the weekend, and then San Diego, a mix of sun and clouds. Highs will be in the 70s and 80s. And then for Boise, going to be a hot one today before things start to cool down. Look ahead to next week if you want a break from the heat. 80s are going to return, and don't forget there is that slight chance for a couple of thunderstorms, especially up in the Cascades for Washington. You see for Seattle, at least in the lowlands, including the city of Seattle, mostly sunny, hot. Temperatures start to come down. There could be a couple of showers as well. Phoenix, the 110s have returned to the forecast with that sunshine. 114 degrees on Saturday. Then we go to Denver. You see afternoon thunderstorms today, tomorrow, as well as a couple of hit or miss thunderstorms on Friday, which will keep temperatures a little cooler, but the 90s return. Then for our friends in Portland, Oregon, shower chances, not all too high, and then into the weekend looking fine, starting off with some morning clouds followed by some afternoon sunshine. And wrapping things up in Spokane, a couple of hit or miss thunderstorms with a high near 97 before things start to settle down as well. So that does it for us here on Weather Out West on this Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and thank you so much for being with us today. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our next Weather Out West.